Today we're going to be talking about what's going on in the housing market versus what was happening just a month ago. We're also going to touch base on different options you have as a renter, as a homeowner, if you're in a position where you're not going to be able to make your mortgage. And we're also going to talk about the $2 trillion trillion with a T stimulus plan that was passed by the federal government and how that might be able to help you as a small business owner in going forward. So I'm Jeb Smith, Coldwell Banker Realty here in Southern California, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you're new to my channel, my channel is all about real estate, primarily mortgages, buying and selling real estate, and I'm here to help guide you through that process. So if you're new and you want more information on that, want to keep up to date on what's going on in the world, hit the subscribe button. And if you like the video at the end, do me a favor and hit the like. It'll let more people see it. And again, that is my goal, to help educate buyers and sellers and guide you through that crazy process, especially right now with what we're going through. So again, thank you for taking the time to watch. So what has happened month over month? So our last video update, let's take away the mid-March update because that's right when the coronavirus hit, and back it up a little bit and talk about what happened at the beginning of March. So at the beginning of March, our market was in full steam, right? We were on track to probably have one of the best years in real estate we've had in a number of years. And that's saying a lot because year over year, the numbers have been growing. And so based on where buyer demand was, interest rates were, and the lack of available housing, the lack of inventory, the market was really pressed to do big things this year. And then on hold with coronavirus. So I did an update mid-March and I talked about what could happen with coronavirus. Well, a lot of that, to be honest with you, is garbage at this point because a lot has changed since then. So, since then, the biggest things that have happened is the government California put a stay in place for California. And for the majority of that period, real estate wasn't deemed an essential business. Take that coupled with, buyers being timid, the uncertainty in the air, kind of scared of what could happen. Buyer demand has dropped off. You've got inventory, which was already at all-time lows. Buyers or sellers now pulling their houses off the market because they're uncertain of what may happen. You've got sellers that were considering selling that are now pulling their, not even considering selling their houses because of what's happening. And so you've pretty much had a full standstill in the market. So that standstill, along with realtors not really being able to do business, has caused real estate to pretty much halt. Now, keep in mind, there are people still out there buying, there are still sales happening, but it's nothing to really report, right? It's nothing to be proud of as a realtor that, hey, the things are still moving along. Things are on hold for the time being, and I expect that to probably stay this way until the social distancing, which as of right now is April 30th, stops, right? And until they say you can go back to your way of life, I don't think real estate is going to make major changes. Now, clearly that's my opinion, and I'll probably get a lot of hate from you guys out there, from other agents saying otherwise, but keep in mind, property is still moving, right? But it's not moving at the rate that it was, and that's the most important piece of the puzzle, because if you're a buyer, you really want to know where things stand for you. And right now, interest rates are still low, but they're not where they were a month ago, right? Interest rates a month ago were in the low 3s for purchases, about the same thing for refinances, maybe even lower in some cases for refinances. And, demand was really, really hot on the buyer side. Not a lot of inventory out there. So it was a lot of properties were multiple offers. It was very hard to get an offer accepted. That's where things were for buyers. Now, the difference now is rates are a little bit higher on purchases, still in the 3s, but not in the low 3s. And interest, refis, the rates on refis are now up in the 4%, mid 4s in some cases, depending on what you're trying to do. So the refinance market's kind of, created a whole different dichotomy with regards to the lending business, which has put strains on lenders with being able to do loans and rates and all that good stuff. And I'm not going to touch on rates in this video because it gets into a whole different thing. But at the end of the day, rates should come down in the future. Once some of this passes, once we know, a little bit more certainty of what's going to happen, and they start buying mortgage-backed securities again and bonds and all that good stuff, rates should come back down, which should give buyers a little bit more boost because interest rates will be lower and give buyers, the buying power that they had, maybe in some cases more buying power. Now, as a seller, the big difference is, there's really not a market at the moment. I mean, yes, you can list your house for sale. Yes, people may come out and see it, especially if it's priced right, but you don't have the demand that you had a month ago. You don't have the opportunity, at least in my eyes, to create those multiple offer situations unless you do a strategy where you price it really low to try to get a lot of eyes on it. But in this market, I'm not sure that's the smart move. So on the selling side, things have changed a little bit. Now, if your property's vacant, and you're going to be listing it in the future anyway, I would tell you, hey, now might not be an awful time to put it on the market because people could still go through it. The social distancing thing isn't really an issue. Us as realtors still can't do open houses. The idea of showing property and touring property is more or less frowned upon, at least by Coldwell Banker at the moment. They kind of want us to keep things as they were. So not a lot can happen in that side of real estate at the moment. But if you're still out there and you're able to take a buyer to a property, let them walk through it with you staying outside, and or agents want to take somebody through your property and stay outside and do the whole social distancing thing. If your property's vacant, hey, list it, right? I don't think days on the market are really going to matter in 30, 60 days because a lot of people are going to be going through the same thing, and a lot of buyers, in my eyes at least, will look at that and go, okay, the days on the market are high, but it's because of, coronavirus and what have you. So the days on the market aren't really accurate as to a realistic market. So as a seller, if you live in the property, I would tell you to hold off for now. I would say pause, just let's see what happens with the real estate market before moving forward. If your property's vacant, maybe consider listing it depending on your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. Now, if you're looking to fire sell a property, clearly you can still do that in this market. But if you're looking to get top dollar, it's not really the market at the moment for that because a lot of people are worried about jobs. A lot of people are worried about employment, about their assets, how they're going to make their mortgage payments, how they're going to make their car payments, student loans, credit cards, all of that stuff. And so that transitions into my next point is that, lenders out there, Congress, the federal government has basically asked lenders to work with homeowners with regards to their mortgages, with regards to their car payments, credit cards, all of that stuff. So all of those companies out there are working with you if you have an issue that's affected by COVID-19. So if you're affected by what's going on in the world, call these banks. Call your bank, call your credit card, your student loans, your car payment, and tell them what's going on. A lot of these people or a lot of these companies have something in place to allow you to at least delay the payment for the next 3 months or so until things change, at which point they could renegotiate terms. You may have to pay the lump sum all at once. I did another video on that, which I'll link to below, and I'm not going to get into that here, but there are options out there for you if you're in that case. The same thing with tenants, right? There are measures in place to keep you in your property. So if you miss a payment, you can't be evicted, at least for the next, I think, 60 to 90 days, depending on where you're located. But as I mentioned in the video, which I'll link to here, is that make sure you're contacting your landlord to tell them what's going on. So you're keeping that communication, that line open, so that, they know what's going on and you can maintain that relationship going forward. And lastly, let's talk about the stimulus plan. So $2 trillion was passed, and that gives people under a certain income $1,200 per month, $500 per child. Again, there's a lot of information on that out there. I'm not going to really touch on that, but what I am going to touch on is if you're a business owner, if you're self-employed like myself, a real estate agent, it could be Uber, it could be Lyft, it could be anything where you're self-employed. There, are applications out there through the small business, through the SBA that you can apply to that could give you up to $10,000 to help you with making payroll, etc. Right? And then you can get loans up to 10 million depending on the size of your business and your payroll, etc. And you just have to keep employment through a certain period of time. Again, not going to get into a lot of detail on that, but there are opportunities out there to help you if you're in that situation. So make sure you're touching base on that. I'll link to the SBA link below so that you can read more on it and see, and apply and see if it fits you and what have you. But keep in mind, it's $350 million that was directed towards businesses. So once that's gone, it's gone. But there is an opportunity if you are a business owner to get some of that, and it could help, and it could become a grant at some point in the future, right? So that's the important thing. It's not only a loan, but it could become a grant and something you don't have to repay. So that's where we are at the moment. Real estate again is on hold. Things are selling, but not at the measure they were a month ago. I don't think the market's going to crash. Right? I don't think that's the market we're in. I do think things are going to calm down for the foreseeable future. Next 60, 90 days, things are going to slow down, after which point the market could pick back up just because of low inventory, right? And that's not just a Southern California thing, that's a nationwide thing. And all of what's going on is only causing inventory to become lower and lower. And so if interest rates do drop, and buyer demand picks up and we have that low inventory, you could see the market continuing to move sideways, potentially up, depending on what happens in some of these markets. So that's my prediction. Don't hold me to it at the moment because a lot of things change, and they're changing so rapidly that I'm having to do multiple videos on the same video just to keep you guys up to date. But that's where we are today. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you have questions for me, comments for me, do me a favor, comment below. Reach out to me directly, which a lot of you have been doing, and I appreciate that. And as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I'm here to help. So have a great day. Bye-bye.